This is the VC Crypto Nation, and we are going to go over some crazy things today. Twitter agrees to look it over. We know Musk is getting Twitter. We know this is going down, but the biggest thing that it's really like blowing my mind, and as I look at all these articles and how they write them, is where we are at this time. People not understanding the reason why Elon Musk had to buy Twitter. Like reading someone's comment that, oh, he's going to shill us all his businesses. Like, first of all, if you own businesses, your job is to shill your product. That's imagine walking into Walmart and they didn't have a piece of paper that you could pick up with all the sales on it. Do you complain when you walk into Walmart? Oh my God, they have sales ads. I'm out of here. Think about how ridiculous you sound. And if you are one of these ridiculous people, I need you to start realizing that just because there is freedom of speech doesn't mean you should talk. Think about it, guys. Because they know that once you accept, here's the thing about human nature. Once you have programmed your mind to accept something, then that acceptance is reality. And that's why it's called the Matrix.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, think about it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Back in the day, when we were just talking the Wild West, right? In the Wild West, or even before that, you said something, right? And you ever notice, and people took offense and people get mad, but back in the day, the smartest people or the most aggressive people ran everything, right? The guy who built things normally was the main person in a village, right? And the guy who was smarter than everyone else normally had the biggest house, right?
Yeah.
And people just had to accept what that was, because the reality is back then people had accountability for their actions, because if you stole something, they chopped off your hand. If you insulted, right? If you insulted someone, you got shot.
Yes.
I mean, we were talking about the duels, right? Back in the day, you'd have an argument with someone, right? And they would literally pull out their white glove and slap you.
And smack you in the face.
And that meant
Yes.
that one of us is taking a bullet.
Yes.
And the best part about the bullet was it was a gun that only had one bullet.
One bullet, one shot.
One shot, which meant that the person who slapped you and the person who got slapped was agreeing to one thing, that they had a disagreement, right? And they agreed to solve this by basically saying, I feel that I am better than you, and if you think you're better than me, then you accept the challenge or you will bow down to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And then even if you accepted the challenge, they both still accepted that by God's will, if you survive the bullet, you deserve to live.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right? But
I like that. That's probably exactly what it is. I
yeah.
didn't know that.
But you took a bullet, and you know what the bullet did for you? It held you accountable for the rest of your life.
That's right, because you were the one.
Every time you looked at the bullet in your shoulder or your arm, you'd be like, I remember that time I disagreed.
Damn, I did that dumb shit.
But I think what happens is, as time goes on, as we talk about this, I'm looking at the news, right? And everyone's like, the greatest thing. I know you guys just seen the funniest thing in the world, which was CNN Plus, $300 million. Because, and everything made sense because CNN Plus came out and the ratings for CNN is down. And they're so convinced that, I don't even understand how they're convinced, because, I mean, nobody watches them. Like, everyone has realized that their entire, like, there's 16-year-old children that watch their coverage, watch the news and videos and pictures they put up, and then Google them and say that picture's from 10 years ago. That's a lie. I mean, when a 15-year-old kid can prove that 90% of what you say is a lie and you're the news, I think everyone's aware that you're full of it.
Yeah.
Now, from a business standpoint, your entire, no one's watching you, but you're telling everyone else that no one's watching Fox, but Fox has ratings. So all these outlets have people on them. But the greatest thing is the irony in life, right? Irony will always get you. And the irony was that every business in the world who is lacking in accountability right now, like CNN is not being held accountable for not actually being a terrible news outlet. Yeah, it's because I don't know if you guys know, but BlackRock and Vanguard own 9 companies that own so much media that they actually own 90% of your news. I don't know if you can, if you as a person, right? If I told you we were living in a town, right, and we walked in the town and all of a sudden we realized that 9 out of 10 of the businesses were owned by 2 families. Who's in charge?
The person who owns all them damn businesses.
Right. See, we can comprehend that in such a simple matter when we actually just say it. But the fact, if you're a person who can't comprehend that they own 90% of the media and they're probably lying to you or manipulating you or even changing the narrative, right? And the greatest thing about change, they come up with these words and they come up with these phrases to where people kind of go, no, they're not lying, man. They're just changing the narrative. And I think to myself, like, you are so uneducated that by simply using a different word, you don't know what they mean, but you feel like they meant it, right? So it's like me punching you in the face going, oh my, dude, I am so sorry. I hit you in the nose. I meant to hit you in the cheek. Let me get you a towel. Let me get you a towel, right? Let me get you some ice. I didn't mean to break your nose. I was just trying to punch you in the face. I'm so sorry. You know what? I'm good. Listen, I understand. You didn't mean to break my nose. I know.
It's an insult of intelligence, if you ask me.
I mean, that is the way social people are right now. That's the world, right? They can tell you and lie to you about everything. And everyone else can show you the proof over and over. Yet, you still hang around them because they're sincere in their apology. You're like a battered woman, right? There's a disorder that's going on in the world, and it has trickled into every part of society. And it's not because you want it to. It's because all the medical pills and all these pharmaceutical pills that they created to basically numb your brain, to fluoride for your brain. Everything that you have is inside your water, and they recycle this water to you. You don't have to take any pills in your entire lifetime, and you will have prescriptions in your body because you drink the water of your city. Right? It's so polluted with the chemicals from the pills that men are hormonic, right? They're crying like women. They're sensitive. Men are having disorders that women have, and women are having disorders that men have. And if you can't realize that's what's happening, you're just out of touch with things, right? And it's not your fault. It's just you're just being. There's so much going on right now that it's hard to even put it together. And this is why we're living. This is the era of incredulity, right? That's because you're in a state of unwillingness and you're just unable to believe something. I mean, literally, right now in the news, I don't know if you guys. I could just pull an article here, right? Twitter agrees to Musk offer and a year-old tweet surfaces. I mean, there's all these things that are happening out there that they're trying to stop, right? Elon Musk wants you to pay for Twitter. Good luck with that. I mean, probably not. And they come out here and they give you all this FUD, right? They can just say anything they think in their head and write an article on the news, on the media, and put that in your mind that that's going to happen, even though it's not going to happen. But they don't apologize for their mistakes. They just say, oh, yeah, guess it wasn't right. And somehow you say, oh, it's all right, man, you're human. But you have to understand something. they're not, it's not, we're not at a bar. I'm not talking to my neighbor, John, Jim, or Jake. And they're telling me that, you know, that Biden's laptop doesn't exist. It was the media, it was the news, it was reporters. Their entire job is to report the facts and the data, not an opinion or what they think or what isn't real. Could you imagine going to buy a gallon of milk and all the people who process milk decided that they were going to process water with some, I don't know, white color in it, and all you bought was colored water, and you were like, hey man, this isn't milk, and they said, sorry man, we just felt like making colored water. It's all right, man. I know it's tough out there. That's exactly what happens when you go to a news network and you go to get information and they give you disinformation, right? It makes no sense, but yet people have a hard time. You know, this is incredulity is something you need to understand is real. It's the inability. It's just that your mind is in a state of mind that is basically unwilling and unable to believe something, even though it's happening, even though you're witnessing it, even though you saw it. It's like they have learned to put your brain in a state of shock 100% of the time. You're in a state of mental shock. They told you for months that there was no laptop. They told you for months that it didn't exist. They told you it was a Russian conspiracy over and over and over. Right? And if you don't believe me, go to the link. There's links out there and there's Discords out there that have these things on there, right? And they show you the videos over and over. Every CNN correspondent told you that it was Russian conspiracy, it was fake, it doesn't exist. Your boy Brandon told you, everyone told you. They had 56 special agents of the government that we control, that we the people own and operate. It's ours. Come out and tell us. Yeah. Who is it? Doge? Doji. And we're trading people out too, right? But at the end of the day, you have all these people telling you, and they had 56 experts tell you, not experts, but like spies. People who are like, their entire job is to be secret security and have the information because they are the secret intelligence. And the intelligence was this thing didn't exist. And they put 56, anytime that there's a landslide of information from one set of someone, right, who's trying to convince you that something is real. Let me explain something how a lie works. If something's true, I don't need to prove it to you because it's true. But when someone's lying to you, you know what they do with their story? They tell you the entire story. Well, what happened was, see, there was a bird, right? And it was on the wire, and it was a red bird. But at this time, it was 9:57, and I saw the mailman. And there was a dog, there was a golden labber. All right, and they have all these details about what happened that day. And you're going to yourself, and you're saying to yourself, like, okay, well, why do I need all this information, right? Well, you don't. But see, they need to provide you with all that information because while they're trying to figure out how to fool you to believe in what they're saying, the mind perceives the fact that the more information they provide, the more credible it is. Right? And this is how you can tell when someone's lying to you. Because they have so much information. It doesn't even make sense. So, this is why when you see the news, they say the same thing on every single channel over and over and over and over and over. It's because they're trying to convince you that what they're saying is real. Right? Now, they came off, said all these things, and then at the end of the day, and guys, I want to make something perfectly clear here. I'm not political. I don't really care who wins or loses. It doesn't even matter to me. I'm a terrible American because I don't even vote. So to me, it's like it doesn't even matter because at the end of the day, life has so many other things going, and I'm sure a lot of you guys feel like this. But the only reason I'm looking at it now is because the country is in a disorder, a state of disorder that's so bad that as an American, as a human, as a person, we're responsible for we the people. So I'm responsible to react if 80% of people can't get food and water. I'm responsible to have my brother's back. I'm responsible to have humanity's back. I'm responsible to be with the 99 percenters because we run the world.
Preach.
Yeah, we run the world, but we haven't come together to run the world. And the reason why it's so weird to me is because when I go back, right, being Hebrew, I think about the times where, when I grew up, all I heard inside of the religion was, how Jews were enslaved for so many years. And I think to myself, it's so crazy that you have to put it to where it's like you're at the moment of thinking of that, right? And this kind of goes back to two things because you have Egypt and there's so many Jews that were enslaved, and there really couldn't have been that many Egyptians standing around enslaving them, right? And it's because once you lose your will and once you lose the ability to think and progress, then you don't try to escape because you have been mentally defeated, right? Once you're mentally defeated, you have no goals. And if you have no goals, you have no hope, right? So once you enslave someone by showing them if they stand up, they'll whip you, then everyone thinks like, well, I don't want to get whipped. And they don't stand up for each other because someone got whipped. And that's how you enslave people. Even though there's 4,000 people standing around with 200 people with whips. The 4,000 people could easily beat up the 200 people with whips and left. But they instill fear, and fear is crippling, right? And once you get to the point of having that in your body, you just get to the point where, incredulity sinks in. You just don't have, you're unwilling to believe that you can escape, and you're just trapped. And as I look through these media clips and as I look through all this stuff that's going on, I realize that this is history repeating itself. And it's a very scary time in history because now there's no excuse to what's going on out there that we don't have, because at the end of the day, we have the ability to see everything that's going on. So we need to react to everything that's going on because we owe it to literally everyone that you call, human. Your fellow brother, your fellow neighbor, people that you know, everybody. Like, you owe it to humanity to basically step in and understand that you have to be accountable, right? And what really drew my mind here is that the funniest thing is that their entire goal here, right, is when Facebook came in and basically went against your fundamental rights of your account. And you ever notice when you log into Facebook that they will literally every once in a while do an update and uncheck all your security and put all your stuff that you do out to where they can just collect it all at one time. And then you can go back in and set security saying, I don't want you in my photos. I don't want you to GPS me. I don't want you to have my phone numbers. They already took it. Right? And if you were someone who started the phone and did it immediately before you posted, so let's say you started a Facebook account and you said, nope, don't be in my security, don't look at my photos, don't do this, right? I don't want you to have access to my phone. And they do an update and shut all that off. Take everything they want and say, oh, there you go, user, reset it. And they do that all the time. Why? is because they want to collect the data that they couldn't get from the people who were smart enough to lock them out from the very beginning. And no one held them accountable. And now they're in the court. The funniest thing, they're in a giant lawsuit for antitrust. But I didn't see any articles on how to delete your Facebook. Elon Musk, who is going out there picking up Twitter because it's really one of the last kind of huge platforms that you can use to basically have some type of freedom of speech. And everything that I've heard from the media, and you guys should pay attention to who's saying it, because you need to delete that. You should just go to your inside your DVR. If you have AT&T or whatever you have inside your DVR, you can go to your channel guide, guys, and you can go and select the channel and delete it. You should delete every news channel and every program that is telling you that you should get rid of your Twitter account because of Elon Musk, because they are the enemy. When they say to you things like,
now they're trying to say that it's because they want to get Trump back on there.
who?
That he bought it just to get Trump on it.
But listen, who cares? I don't care if he bought Twitter to put Trump on there. It's his money.
Right.
I've never looked at any of Trump's tweets. I've seen his speeches here and there. I mean, I'm a grown person. If I don't want to read something, I just don't.
Right.
Now, but I do recognize that every person in the world has the right to live, a right to freedom, and a right to speech, right? Now, with that also being said, we have to look at time and go, man, what's happening here is that the intelligent people of the world don't really talk. They spent their entire time just kind of doing things like building things, solving problems, expanding companies, joining family. And over the last 3 or 4 years, people have realized that because of no one intelligent talking and the ability to speak all the time, people have decided who have no real authority, or I'll say not authority, but the capacity to explain something, talk, or voice an intelligent opinion, have taken over social media. And that's what is sad, because their opinions, which are basically their feelings, who have no data or any type of resource behind it, has become information. And I don't know if we can classify that as information, because it's a feeling, like how you feel about something. Like when you feel that every kid deserves a trophy, that's a feeling. It doesn't make any sense, because the reason why there are goals and trophies is that so children can learn in the very beginning how to, set goals and be happy they did something, right? And for all the people who say, well, my kids were unable to get would be sad when they got a little trophy. Well, I would say to you, you better get better at parenting. Because if your child got upset because they had a small trophy, and the kids who worked harder, spent more time training, spent more time playing baseball, got the big trophy, it's because they earned it. And if your child didn't do all that and they didn't earn it and they got a little trophy, as a parent, your job is to explain that the trophy really doesn't matter. Did you try your hardest? Did you compete 100%? Well, then you're a winner, because the trophy doesn't matter. See, the trophy is the moment that a parent has to step in and explain life. And people that are complaining about the trophy just don't have the education or understanding or development on how to raise a child. And if you think that's not right, look around you. These kids have no respect. These kids are, we went through a generation of brats. We went through a generation of needy. Like, entitlement, right? Look it up. So many people are entitled out there. It's unbelievable. But they haven't even earned anything. But just because they feel that they showed up, they deserve something. And that has made America super weak. And this is why we're in the situation we're in, is because the uneducated, the unintelligent has had a platform to speak for so long, because the intelligent people believe that everyone has the right to freedom of speech and to have their ideals listened to. Not because they should be implemented, but because they should be discussed. And the reason why they should be discussed, because it's like saying, okay, when you have a loaded gun, do you look down the barrel? No, because it might go off. And if we didn't have you to ask the question of why you shouldn't look down the barrel of a loaded gun, we wouldn't be able to educate you that it will probably shoot your face. This is why freedom of speech is important, to educate the people who just don't understand or can comprehend scenarios and situations. It isn't there to allow every stupid opinion to become information. And that's where we have to draw the line. The line has to be drawn that you just can't just spout off whatever you want. Just because there's a comment box on every piece of social media doesn't mean you should comment. You have to take into accountability and hold yourself accountable that you're probably not intelligent enough to say something or voice an opinion on something that you don't know. And maybe you should go get educated first before you voice your opinion. Because that would be being responsible and holding yourself accountable. And that's what we don't have, guys. And it's just a shame that we've come this far as a country just to go so far back in time. And that's what I want to address. I don't know how you feel about it. I'm just looking at the news, and it's just weird to me that everything is so crazy, just on a normal level of thought. Like, you don't even have to think. You know, when you have somebody saying, you know, it's just weird to me. When you have someone saying that by Elon Musk allowing people to have freedom of speech, that what do the media say? What are they saying? That by allowing people to have freedom of speech, you're allowing everyone to talk. And it's like, yeah, because everyone should have freedom of speech. It doesn't mean their opinions and ideals are going to be information, but it's the only way you can educate someone is if you understand what they say, what they think, and then you educate them. But the people on the left feel, and this is where it blows my mind, is most of the anchors on CNN are over here talking like you just can't let everyone speak. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how far gone are you that you believe that your opinion's right? Like, they say it with such confidence, right? What's that heavyset bald dude? His confidence in what he's saying blows my mind, because it's just like he feels like he's just so intelligent that what he's saying on his newscast is all you need to know. I mean, first of all, you're a news reporter and you're only supposed to report the news, not your opinion or how you feel or think about something. It's just wild to me, guys. You have to wake up, guys. Wake up, and I don't mean be woke. All right, what I mean is wake up and realize that the world has very simple parameters, and the parameters is education and accountability. Hold people accountable, right? If the news went out there and told you for a year and a half there was no laptop, there was none of this, and 56 special agents came in and told you that it doesn't exist, and then they find out after an election where people voted for an individual because they thought it was a lie and they thought all that stuff, and you went out and voted, and then all of a sudden you find out that your own agency, the FBI, knew the laptop existed in 2019 but said nothing, and 56 special agents said it didn't exist even though they knew it did. But who's holding them accountable? I don't know. I just feel like I feel like I feel like you met a girl and she lives in a really nice town and everyone told you that she was special and your religion basically said that you needed to marry a virgin. And they said, yeah, of course, she's a virgin. She's never been out with anybody. And you're like, okay. And you go through your religion thing and you date her for 2, 3 years and you fall in love and you get married. And then after you get married, you realize that everyone who comes to your wedding afterwards starts talking to you like, oh, I dated her, 6 years ago. We had a couple, we almost had a child a couple times, but we decided to have abortions instead. And then her other boyfriend comes up and starts talking about how many times they were, they were in a sex camp and they were swingers. And you're just sitting there in complete disbelief. And then the family and friends, when you ask them, I said, hey, I thought she was a virgin. And they say, well, she was born again. And whatever happens when you're not over the age of 18 should never, it goes off your record. I'm sorry, man, because I know this has happened to some of you guys. I'm just doing it. Listen, it's gone too far, guys. Appreciate your time. All I'm saying out there is, listen, there's a comment box. It doesn't mean your comment matters. Your opinion doesn't matter. You have to hold yourself accountable. And people, just hold people accountable. When they say something stupid or unintelligent or just not true, just say, hey, man, if you do a little research, I don't mean to offend you, but if you did a little bit of research, you realize that the statement you just made actually has no bias and has no factual information to it. So before you say something on the internet that people read and might believe, could you possibly do humanity a favor and only speak on things that you actually know? That'd be great. And we should hold everyone accountable. And if they don't, then just report their account for suspicious behavior, because they're obviously spreading fake news. And if they spread fake news, there must be an intention here to do something, which is fool the people. And if you're out to fool the people and mislead the people, then you are a problem for the people. Because the people need real information. They don't need lies. They don't need the BS. They need real information that goes with their life. So stop telling people things that you don't know. Stop telling lies. Stop telling things that you heard on the news that isn't real, and get yourself educated. You can just pull up some stuff. Just go read an article. And believe me, guys, the very first thing when you see here, like you see this thing that says Twitter employees raise questions about Musk takeover in all hands. Like this is a headline. This isn't the article. You need to actually click on the article and read it, because inside the article, it probably doesn't even say anything about that. That's just something, it's called clickbait, and it's just for you to click and read. But clickbait, because everyone has ADHD out there, has become basically the article. Guys, you have to do more than just read the cover of the book. What's this book, poetry? Man, that was a good read. That's what you guys are doing right now. You're reading the cover of the book and you're thinking you know poetry. Yeah, I read a book the other day called Poetry. Oh, I'm done. All right, guys, have a good day. Read your articles out there, and do me a favor. Stop leaving comments when you don't understand something. Hold yourself accountable and realize that if you're witnessing and seeing it, it is real. And realize that you need to hold yourself accountable, because you're here. You represent everybody. It's humanity, not just yourself. Stop being so selfish.